Hi guys, well in this episode of Jarba Notes I wanted to go over a little bit about staining. So I just built this desk, very simple modern style desk with a stained top. So here I didn't just use my store-bought stain, I decided to mix it up a bit. So I knew that I had one sheet of plywood to work with for the top here, but I wanted it to look a little bit more like individual pieces of wood glued together. So in order to do that I taped off the different sections and then I used different stains, but I didn't buy different stains. I used the one stain that I bought, my red mahogany stain that I tend to use quite often. So then I changed up that one stain by adding different oil colors to it. A little bit of red here, a little bit of yellow here. It doesn't take much, you only need a very small amount because there's so much pigment in those oil paints. So after I had done these various taped off sections and created this basic look of different boards, I wanted to give it a slightly more aged look or a more lived in look. So I started applying darker kind of stain on the edges and around, just to kind of give the illusion that the desk has been used a lot in the middle, where you put your elbows and your books and things like that. So just kind of varying up the stain a little bit and giving it that kind of like slight kind of illusion of darkness at the outer edges. And then of course I'm working with plywood here, but if I was working with, wood, then you could have also dinged it up and kind of, put some screws and rocks and things like that to just kind of give it a more of a rustic distressed look. But I don't want to go through the plywood, so I didn't go for that step here. So there are lots of different ways to change your stain up. For example, if you add mineral spirits, you are diluting it and making it thinner, thereby diluting the strength of the stain as well. And then you can think about what kind of color you're looking for. Like if you want it a little bit darker, you can add a little bit of black or dark brown. But if you wanted a little lighter, you can go white on the other hand, more for a slightly grayish look. But then it's also interesting to add in more, maybe more red or more yellow for, bringing out those tones a little bit. That doesn't mean that the stain will be red or yellow, it just means that it will have a slightly different look. Also, when I created some of the lighter colors here, I actually made my own stain using powdered pigments along with boiled linseed oil and a little mineral spirits. Now that's one way to go, but it requires quite a lot of pigment, and if you're going to make more stain, then it's really kind of cheaper to go with paint to color things and an existing stain, because you go through a lot of pigment. Another thing is that when I created these colors, I didn't necessarily wait for each layer to perfectly dry before I added another one. Sometimes you want that slightly more, natural look, where it's not completely one color very solid. So, add a little bit more and then work on the next one. So it doesn't have to be like sterile in that sense, where you just, wait for one thing to dry and then move on to the next after that. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because when the stain's completely dry, then the next layer won't really blend in and causing that kind of smooth, natural look. So I really prefer to kind of put a stain on, and then you can kind of play and put another layer on, and that way it kind of soaks in really nicely. So initially when I added the taped look with the boards, I let that dry, but after that I added probably another 5 layers or something like that, and then I didn't let it dry all in between the coats, just to kind of really work on getting the particular look that I was going for here. So doing this is not very difficult, it just requires some patience, especially since, oil-based stains do take a little bit of time to dry, and of course it's very nice to be able to do them outside if you can, because they do smell quite strongly. And the other thing is you don't really need a whole lot of stain to do this. You probably need maybe like 1.5 ounces per color. Then you can kind of use one color to make the next color. So if you were using pigments now, then I would use about 1.5 teaspoons to about 2 ounces of total liquid. And that could be like stain, mineral spirits, oil, kind of mixed together depending on the look that you're going for. And those proportions are pretty much true when it comes to paint as well. So if you have like 2 ounces of liquid, like maybe some stain, mineral spirit, that kind of thing, you add maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons of paint and kind of experiment from there and see until you get the kind of color that you're going for. For example, if you have like 2 ounces of red mahogany stain, which is what I was working with, then if you add like 2 teaspoons of red oil paint, then you're really going to bring out more of the red in the stain and get a pretty cool effect. But at that stage, it doesn't look at all like paint. I mean, it still is very much a stain. But stains the wood and kind of let the wood shine through. And the thing is that when you do it like this, they look very natural because there's just so much pigment in the stain, and adding the color really just brings out certain tones in the stain. So I really do like the way it looks. It has a very interesting look. So instead of just buying a ton of different colored stains, you can just, you know, make sure you are stocked in a couple of small jars of paint and create whatever you need based on the time and the project. Well, it's been quite fun being outside shooting this video as opposed to being inside where I usually am. So yeah, I really think it's a great idea to make your own stains. If you're interested in that kind of thing, go and check it out and try it yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye.